of the Rituals and Practices book. Feel free to join the chant or just follow along. Reverence for life. Aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating the insight of interbeing and compassion and learning ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking, or in my way of life. Seeing that harmful actions arise from anger, fear, greed, and intolerance, which in turn come from dualistic and discriminative thinking, I will cultivate openness, non discrimination, and non attachment to views in order to transform violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism in myself and in the world. True happiness. Aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression, I am committed to practicing generosity in my thinking, speaking, and acting. I am determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others, and I will share my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. I will practice looking deeply to see that the happiness and suffering of others are not separate from my own happiness and suffering, that true happiness is not possible without understanding and compassion, and that running after wealth, fame, power, and sensual pleasures can bring much suffering and despair. I am aware that happiness depends on my mental attitude and not on external conditions, and that I can live happily in the present moment simply by remembering that I already have more than enough conditions to be happy. I am committed to practicing right livelihood so that I can help reduce the suffering of living beings on Earth and stop contributing to climate change. True love. Aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct, I am committed to cultivating responsibility and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society, knowing that sexual desire is not love and that sexual activity motivated by craving always harms myself as well as others. I am determined not to engage in sexual relations without true love and a deep, long term commitment made known to my family and friends. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and to prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. Seeing that body and mind are one, I am committed to learning appropriate ways to take care of my sexual energy and cultivating loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness, which are the four basic elements of true love, for my greater happiness and the greater happiness of others. Practicing true love, we know we will continue beautifully into the future. Loving speech and deep listening, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups, and nations. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When anger is manifesting in me, I am determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and any other person. I will speak and listen in a way that can help me and the other person transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to utter words that can cause division or discord. I will practice right diligence to nourish my capacity for understanding, love, joy, and inclusiveness, and gradually transform the anger, violence, and fear that lie deep in my consciousness. Nourishment and healing. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I am committed to cultivating good health, both physical and mental, for my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will practice looking deeply into how I consume the four kinds of nutriments, namely edible foods, sense impressions, volition, and consciousness. I am determined not to gamble or to use alcohol, drugs, or any other products which contain toxins, such as certain websites, electronic games, TV programs, films, magazines, books, and conversations. I will practice coming back to the present moment to be in touch with the refreshing, healing, nourishing elements in me and around me, not letting regrets and sorrow drag me back into the past, or letting anxiety, fear, or craving pull me out of the present moment. I am determined not to try to cover up loneliness, anxiety, or other suffering by losing myself in consumption. I will contemplate interbeing and consume in a way that preserves peace, joy, and well being in my body and consciousness, and the collective body and consciousness of my family, my society, and the earth.
I'd like to invite the incense lighters to come forward, please. The incense lighting gatha is on page 2 in the chant books. You chant that together. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Good morning. Nice to see you all. My name is Kunga. I'm the senior teaching monk here at the temple, and I'm glad you all could join us this Sunday. I have some courtesy announcements. If you have a small child or you yourself would like to take a break during the service, we do have a downstairs as well. Just go to the stairs on my left. There's bathrooms downstairs. There's also bathrooms to the curtains on your left there. If you need to get up for any reason during the service, just walk along the back near the wall and just maintain noble silence. We do have water downstairs as well as water at the pictures there at the front when you come in, I think. When we are doing our chants together, just invite you to join us, chant mindfully, not so loud that you can't hear your neighbors, but loud enough so that you can join in. Think of it as a mindfulness practice, a way for you to kind of become in tune with the whole Sangha. And at this time, I invite everyone to stand up. We'll greet each other silently with bows. And please remain standing. We're going to chant the 3 refuges together. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. Next, we will chant the Heart Sutra on page 4 in your chant book. The Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all five skandhas, and delivered all people from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore, the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas, the past, present, and future, through faith and prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, peerless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita, gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhiswaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhiswaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhiswaha. The Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. Good morning again. Can you hear me okay with the mic? Okay. So again, my name is Kunga Nyima. I'm a teaching monk here at the temple. And the title of my talk today is The Fourth Precept and the Four Virtues of Right Speech. So currently the temple is doing a preceptor training. We started that in the fall, and that'll be ending with an ordination and a retreat at the beginning of December. So we've been trying to talk about each of the precepts during the fall and winter here, so that the Sangha would kind of get a sense of what the preceptors are studying. The 5 mindfulness chants here that we chanted at 9:30 was an intro to that as well. So the 5 precepts are to abstain from killing, abstain from sexual misconduct, abstain from stealing, abstain from lying, and abstain from intoxicants. And what I'm going to focus on today is the 4th one, to abstain from lying. So what I thought about was there are many examples in the media today where we see people lying or spreading untruths or spreading rumors. And we see the negative examples of the repercussions, but we don't talk a lot about the value of speaking truth. So that's going to be the focus of my talk today. I'm going to present 2 definitions of the 4th precept. The first one is from the Pali Canon, which is the oldest recorded teachings of the Buddha. And then the second will be from Thich Nhat Hanh, which is a more recent interpretation, kind of an expanded interpretation. So first I'm going to present here this is from the Pali Canon. Further, monks, a noble disciple gives up false speech and abstains from it. By abstaining from false speech, the noble disciple gives to immeasurable beings freedom from fear, hostility, and oppression. By giving to immeasurable beings freedom from fear, hostility, and oppression, he himself will enjoy immeasurable freedom from fear, hostility, and oppression. I put a copy of this downstairs on the board as well if you want to revisit it later. So I like this simple example because it starts out talking about what are the negative effects of not telling the truth. Here they're just simplified down to they cause fear, hostility, and oppression. And when we abstain from telling lies, then we abstain from causing those feelings of fear, hostility, and oppression on other beings. And we also benefit from that ourselves as well. So I had one example I wanted to share from the media about a lie that was presented, and it seemed to define this pretty well. So you may have heard the story in the last month, maybe it was a little bit longer than a month when it was initially presented. It was about Springfield, Ohio, and Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio were eating the pets of their neighbors. That was the story. The story wasn't true, but it kept being spread regardless. Because of that story, a lot of fear was generated about immigrants, like that immigrants are going to, not like us, don't have the same diet as us, they don't have pets, these pets are food, that kind of thing. And it also presented this idea of fear, for the immigrants themselves, now having this story out there about them that wasn't true. And a lot of hostility was created on the internet from that. There's a lot of talk in social media about that. On both sides of the issue, people got very angry about it, angry that the lies were told, angry that, that people believe them. And it even led up to there being bomb threats in Springfield, and schools and other public buildings were closed because of bomb threats. So I thought that was interesting, here this one lie, spread, became a rumor. It created all this hostility and even oppression for those people in that community because of that. So the second example of the 4th precept that I want to give is by Thich Nhat Hanh. And I'm going to be talking about the non-virtues associated with unskillful speech and the virtues. And so this This compilation by Thich Nhat Hanh sort of addresses many of those within it. Loving speech and deep listening. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups, and nations. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When anger is manifesting in me, I'm determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person. I will speak and listen in a way that can help myself and the other person to transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain and not to utter words that can cause division or discord. I will practice right diligence to nourish my capacity to understanding, love, joy, and inclusiveness, and gradually transform anger, violence, and fear that lie deep in my consciousness. So this is also in our chant books. If you look in your chant books under the 5 mindfulness trainings, I think that's page 12. And so that's actually at page 13, actually has loving speech and deep listening. So if you want to refer to that, that is in the chant books. So the 4 non-virtues that are identified by the Buddha are lying, divisive speech, harsh words or slander, idle talk or gossip. And there are non-virtues associated with body and mind as well, so I'm just focusing on speech today. In contrast, the 4 virtues are speaking truth, not deceiving, harmonizing those who are unfriendly, speaking peacefully and politely, and speaking meaningfully. In the Tibetan Lojong practice, there's this idea that we focus on the positive attributes, and then if we just focus on doing what's positive all the time, we don't really need to talk about the negative because there's no time for us to be doing it. So in that spirit, I'm just going to be talking really about the positive aspects, the noble virtues. The 4 non-virtues as highlighted by Buddhism illustrate words that we put in the world can cause suffering for ourselves and others. And each of these waters seeds of ignorance, anger, and desire. And in contrast, the non-virtues water seeds of wisdom, love, and equanimity. And you can think of these non-virtues and virtues sort of kind of fitting together. And the virtues are actually just antidotes for the non-virtues. So if we think of someone telling a lie, the antidote to telling lies is to tell the truth. If we think of someone who has divisive speech that makes others become against each other or generates feelings of hate, then the antidote to that is speech that harmonizes others, brings people together. The antidote for harsh speech would be polite speech. And the last one is the non-virtue of, what do they call it? They call it sort of internal, like prideful speech or gossip, speech that you talk about with other people when you're just kind of making small talk, but it's sort of, if you're doing it non-virtually, it's either generating pride or maybe talking badly about someone else, versus if you're doing virtually, you're doing it, it would be meaningful speech, speech that promotes listening. I think when Thich Nhat Hanh talks about this being loving speech and deep listening, deep listening really applies to this 4th virtue, more listening than speaking. So I wanted to talk about the 4 virtues as indicated in Thich Nhat Hanh's definition, and mainly in the beginning part. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups, and nations. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. So it's really interesting to me how he talked about speaking truth being associated with inspiring confidence, joy, and hope. And what it made me think about was my work as a hospice social worker. So we oftentimes, anybody that comes to hospice has to have a prognosis of less than 6 months to live. You know, 2 doctors have looked at their diagnosis, looked at their condition, and based on their experience, that's what they're thinking. This person has a short lifespan. Many patients have cancer, but we have other, prognosis issues as well. So it's not unusual, though, for someone to come onto services, even though they've been told by a doctor that they need hospice, then maybe they're more hopeful than the medical team. They're hopeful that they're going to live longer than 6 months. They're hopeful that there'll be some type of cure, or maybe they just feel like that the doctor really doesn't know for sure. It's in God's hands, and they're going to live longer than that. And so they may be making decisions based on this idea that they're going to be with us for quite some time, and maybe be reluctant to make decisions about signing a do not resuscitate order or completing advanced directives, with deal with death or dying, making funeral plans, that kind of thing. They may not be ready for that. So when I'm their social worker, one of the things I do in the beginning is find out, have they made these plans, or are they interested in talking about it? And if they're not, the idea is, well, we're going to companion them, even though they may not agree with what the doctor is saying. We're going to provide that support, even though they may not feel like it's necessary, because they're not really going to die in 6 months. So the first step for me usually is to kind of develop confidence, help them to develop that confidence in my service. How can they trust who I am and, what I'm saying, get to know me over time? How do we build that relationship? So usually it's pretty basic. I just basically do what's expected of me. I just show up every 2 weeks, to see them. Even if there's nothing going on, I still show up. I listen to what their concerns are. I follow their lead. Let them be the one deciding what's going on. And that helps them develop confidence. The second thing that Thich Nhat Hanh talks about here is related to trust, is this idea of joy. And so usually in my experience, as I start to get to know the person, we spend a lot of time talking about joys from the past. It may be that they're hopeful to be able to do these things again when they start to feel better, but also they just can't do a lot of things right now. So just reminiscing or life review, something we spend a lot of time with. And that helps to build the relationship, this sharing of joy. And then over time, as we get to know each other better, usually as this person's condition starts to deteriorate, they start to realize, maybe I'm not going to recover. Maybe, with cancer, a lot of times they might not be having a lot of symptoms, but over time, as they're with hospice, they start to lose their strength. They start to lose their ability to do things. They lose their appetite, and they can see for themselves that, things are very serious here. And a lot of times what will happen is that hope for a cure, or hope that I'm not going to die, will change into this hope that I can be comfortable. I can be supported by my loved ones. I can address my death, with courage, or with acceptance. So this idea of truth, it becomes more than just speaking the truth. It kind of becomes this idea of, how do I let the person live the truth as they understand it, without putting on to them what I think should be happening. Like if I didn't do what I should do, if I just came in here and told them, right out, you're going to die, you need to do a DNR, you need to set up your funeral plans, they would just say, I'm leaving hospice, or I need another social worker. And when I first started out, I had a couple people where I wasn't as mindful as I should have been, and they did fire me, and I had to have another social worker come in. So you really have to be careful with that. So now I want to talk about the other virtues associated with right speech. And I want to talk about them in relationship to our current circumstances. So the next one is harmonizing those who are unfriendly. And so this can be a real challenge for us. We just had the election, not even 2 weeks ago, maybe. And a lot of us were very attached to what we wanted to happen at the election, right? And then, many of us are still suffering from that attachment, because what we wanted to happen is not happening. And now may we have all this anxiety about what the future is going to hold. So Thich Nhat Hanh and the Buddha would tell us that what we need to do is to think about ways we can harmonize with these people we don't agree with. And that's kind of like a bitter pill to swallow, I think. I think we would much rather be angry and feel like we're going to fight for what we feel is right. And that I don't think he's saying that you shouldn't be assertive for what you think is right. But I think he's saying that we have to really find ways to have common ground. Because if we don't have common ground, if we're not working towards harmonizing, there's no way we're going to do something together. If you imagine trying to do something with someone else and you're fighting at the same time, just think about it like a physical physical thing you have to do together. And if you're actually physically fighting at the same time you're going to try and do it, it's just impossible. So you have to find some middle ground, some way to work together. And I think about this, you have to, if with our families and with our friends who might have felt a different way about the election than we do, we have to look back into the past or into our histories and find some common ground, things that we do together, we enjoy together, we can appreciate together, maybe start from there. And that's probably going to take time. Just like with my patients, when I'm trying to build trust with them, it takes time to build that relationship. The next virtue, the third virtue, is speaking peacefully and politely. So I thought this was an interesting one because I think that, they're not speaking peacefully and politely. Why do I have to speak peacefully and politely? How are they going to actually hear me if I don't use the same language they're using? And I think right here, what's helpful to us to think about is think about karma and cause and effect. And think about the Buddhist teachings about how whatever you put out into the world, that's what you're going to receive back. So if you put out a lot of violent or harsh words, that's what's going to come back to you. And if you want a more peaceful and loving world, you have to put out speech that is peaceful and polite and loving. Regardless of what is already out there, you're trying to transform what is out there, and you can't transform it by using the same language. I wanted to share a verse from the Dhammapada. They were angry with me, they attacked me, they defeated me, they robbed me. Those who dwell on such thoughts will never be free from hatred. So maybe a historical example, think about Martin Luther King, and the civil rights movement and how they really focused on this sort of nonviolent demonstration. And it was because of that. And I think the contrast between their nonviolence and the aggression from the powers that be that really brought support to their cause. So the other part of that is, what do you do when you have all this anger? If someone's speaking to you with a lot of harsh speech and they're pushing all your button or making you angry, how do you resolve that in a minute? It's nice to say, well, I'll speak politely, but it's kind of hard to do if you're really fired up. So Thich Nhat tells you what to do in the fourth precept. He says, when anger is manifesting in me, I am determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person. I will speak and listen in a way that can help myself and the other person to transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. So, the idea here is to pause. Don't respond right away. If you feel yourself getting angry and you don't have control over what you're going to say, don't say anything and just wait. I think with social media, it can be really difficult to that. You read people's comments and you feel like they're really hateful or they're really clueless and you want to respond right away. and tell them where they're wrong. But really, from experience what happens. You respond to them, they respond back, and it comes this vicious circle of people responding and no one really listening at all. A better way to approach it is to try and really try and understand things from another person's perspective. Try and remember that, we're all bringing to life a perspective that's been transformed by causes and experiences in our life. Our parents, our friends, our society, the people, what we read, what we consume in the media, all those things have created this perception. And, getting an idea of why the person has this perception, and trying to find things maybe you can agree with, or you can at least express an understanding for their passion about this issue might be a good place to start. And I think this is a lot to deal with in the present moment. And at my work, we have a simple acronym that we use in order to kind of consolidate all this information. And the acronym is called Think Before You Speak. So when you're going to speak, is it truthful? Is it helpful? H. Is it inspiring? I. Is it necessary? Which is the N. And is it kind? Which is the K. So THINK, truth, necessary, inspiring, needed, kind. And, if it doesn't fill all those categories, then just don't say it yet. Just wait until you can find a way to say it so it does. This doesn't mean you can't present your opinions, but we're trying to present them in a way that they'll be heard. And in order for them to be heard, they have to take into account what the other person can receive. If we don't put it out there in a way they can receive it, it's just a waste of time. It's just going to go over their head or bounce right back to us in some form of, anger or sadness. So thank you very much for listening to that. I want to invite us all to gather ourselves for meditation. If you can find a comfortable position on your cushion. If you're tired of sitting on a cushion, we do have some chairs available. There's also sitting in the other room too with additional chairs. You can turn the lights down, please. So traditionally, you would cross your legs in the front. And if you can't put your legs up, your feet up on your thighs, then we just invite you to put your legs crossed in front of you. If you're sitting in a chair, just put your feet flat on the floor. Try and sit up nice and straight. And then just invite you to bring awareness to the present moment. You can bring awareness to your breath, each intake and outtake. If you feel like you need a little bit more of a focus than that, you can count your breaths. So you breathe in and breathe out 5, breathe in, breathe out 4, down to 1, and then repeat. And I will sound the bell 3 times to start, 3 times at the end. So I wanted to say a few words about our meditation. One of the benefits of our practice is learning not to react. We just all sat for 15 minutes. We didn't do something else. We basically just did nothing, right? Just sit there. And if thoughts came up like, oh, I need to reposition, or I need to get up, or I need to go do something else right now, or this is boring, we just kind of sat with it and we didn't react. And that we're practicing that so we can bring that out into our real life. And when someone says something we don't like, or does something we don't like, we don't have to react right away with anger or with aggression. We can think about it, figure out, maybe if we have to take a little time, we'll figure out why they did that, and doesn't have anything to do with us or being angry about us. Maybe they don't know why they did it, or it could be any number of reasons why people do things. And just sort of taking some time to figure things out, figuring out a way to tell people what we feel about what they did or how they acted, and give us all some time to kind of think things through. When you're practicing your meditation, you're practicing that really basic skill, just learning not to react, and that's so important to us in our lives. So thank you for practicing. So now we're going to share joys and concerns. So there's an opportunity for you to share with the Sangha and also those online things in your life that have been a joy, so that we can share in that joy, or things maybe that have been a concern, so we can, share compassion for you, or share, our feelings for that, help things could be better. So if you raise your hand, then a mic will be brought around to you.
Good morning out there in TV land and here. Sangha, I'm Yang Su. I'm a senior teacher emeritus and lineage holder for our temple. My concern is my anger. And what do I do about it? So the first place I go is what my first teacher gave me for meditation about 12, 13 years ago, which is Lojong. And Lojong 1 reflection says, in my every action, I will watch my mind, and the moment destructive emotions arise, I will confront them strongly and avert them, since they will hurt both me and others. This process has felt like I'm going to war, and it's felt like a very real death. And death takes time to process. You don't just have a death one day and then, whoopee, here we go. No. And every day it gets worse. It's just not the initial death. Now you got an attorney general that might be a child molester, that loves 2025, that hates women, it's overpowering. And I just heard that when I came in, and it's like, okay, what do you do with all this anger? Because we know holding on to anger is just not the right thing for us. It's like drinking poison and helping the other person dies. So I'm going back to my roots. In the 60s and early 70s, I was part of the union called UFW, United Farm Workers. My heroes were Martin Luther King, Gandhi, the ones that Bobby, and I walked with Martin Luther and I walked with Cesar Chavez from San Francisco to Fresno, and he was committed to nonviolence. And I walked right beside this man. He became my hero. And we went through some stuff where we could have died. A beer bottle from a couple of idiot truck drivers came right between our heads. But the bottom line, I could go on and shoot my mouth off a lot. The bottom line is the word is resistance, and you all got to figure out, what is your resistance? Planned Parenthood and gay pride are mine. And whatever you can do to release that energy in a positive way. And my hope is that we all will, and we'll even talk about it here, maybe even do something as a group. But that's enough. I'm Yang Su, and I quit. No, I don't quit. I released this.
Hi, Sangha. My name's Vanessa, and my joy is that I got accepted into a program that allows me some grant money to go back for some training to be a certified nurse assistant. So I'm super excited about that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I have a concern as well about my anger. It's been really bad the past few weeks. And I've gotten to a point where I've really not been recognizing my ways of thinking and how I approach the world. And it's been really hard to navigate. But I've kind of realized how bad it's gotten. So I've been trying to be proactive about it by spending time with people that remind me about the good people in the world and getting out of environments where people don't necessarily have the best intentions. And going to temple now, I haven't been in a few months, so that's not been so good, but I'm here now. And exercising and trying to eat better and be more mindful just about everything that I'm doing. But I'm really thankful that I have all these opportunities, but it's also been contributing to my anger because I am empathizing with the people that don't necessarily have resources. And it's really overwhelming sometimes just thinking about, obviously the election and everything that got me all fired up too. And how my friends are struggling, specifically the women in my life and the people of color in my life, and my friends that are in the LGBTQ plus community as well. And I've just been hearing so many of their cries, and it's been really, really hard. And navigating new relationships in my life and just not really identifying with who I am has been really, really hard. But again, I'm trying to show up. So I think that's a joy in itself. So I guess it kind of balances out. But that's all. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt. Second time coming. Had another pretty all right week. Only concern is that I accidentally injured my pinky toe during judo. Ow. But that's a small convenience. I'm still going tomorrow though. But first judo competition for me is in February, so I'll be training extensively for that. I'm also doing Muay Thai as well, and I love mixed martial arts. It's absolutely phenomenal. And for the past couple of months, I've been really watching what I eat and what I put into my body, and I've dropped 15 pounds, hoping to do 20 more before competition. And I'm thoroughly excited. And like I said last week, meditation is just another aspect in me achieving that goal. So thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Hello, Sangha. I want to express the joy that I'm feeling. I used to feel guilty about not being able to interact with some family members because of our differences in opinions about politics or anything that had to do with anything value-wise. But I'm happy now because I've kind of let go of the idea of having a relationship with some family, and I'm okay with that now. It doesn't mean that when I do see them at funerals or weddings or something like that, get-togethers, that I'm not going to be kind to them. I will. I'll always be kind to them, of course, and speak a little bit with them. But I don't feel that we will have ever have a relationship. And taking that burden off to try to force that I has given me joy. It's like, okay, this is cool, and I'm okay with it. So, thank you.
Hello, Sangha. Oh, it's really loud. Okay. Um, joy that I have is that it's my first time coming here, and it's also the first Buddhist temple that I've ever stepped into. I don't consider myself a Buddhist yet, but I have been attempting to meditate and practice some of its teachings, looking into various schools. I've done it a couple times in my life before, but it never quite sticks for some reason. So hopefully this is a little different and I get to explore spirituality and something personal and significant to me with a community of other practitioners. So I'm very joyful because of that. I'm excited. I have many concerns, but now is not the time to talk about those. So thank you. Thank you for the welcome.
3 days ago, I returned from Bhutan. It was a trip of a lifetime. And it was surreal in multiple ways. As I don't know if you're aware, it's a Buddhist country and it's a kingdom. I was also in Nepal. But I wanted to relate a story that occurred while we were in Bhutan. And we came down into the lobby, and several of the people that we were traveling with were crying. Oh, they were crying, and we had learned about the results of the election. Later on that evening, we were at a monastery, and my friend that I was traveling with was really despondent. And I looked over, and this gentleman came up to her. I don't know where he came from, but he was dressed in the gi, the dress of the Bhutanese people. And he put his hand on her shoulder and he said, "We know about your election. We know that you're really sad. Know that all things are impermanent. Let this anger and fear, let it go." And he disappeared. So it was really one of those halfway across the world. We were really reassured that this won't last forever. It doesn't mean that it's painful or sad, but he really encouraged her not to internalize those feelings and just let them go. And he disappeared. So it was, I don't know what it was, but it was really reassuring. So thank you.
Hello, Sangha. Hello, everyone. We share my joy because last weekend I finished another marathon. Um, I stopped my training like to 1.5 in September when I think I remember I joined the temple. Someone special, Jeremy, I say, "Hey, I'm a runner. How I can practice my meditation?" So he tell me, maybe while you're running, you can practice your breath and thinking, keep going. I was running with some friend, like 10 miles. I say, my friend, keep going. I will see you in the finish line. Some lady beside say, "Hey, come on, let's go. Run with me." Okay, I will run with you 1 mile more. So when I dropped the group, I was keep going and remember the words and remember here and remember my kids. So just thinking about keep going. And walking 4 times before the finish line after 20 miles. Let's say I was thinking in everything about me, about the life. I I see a lot of runners finish. So I thinking in positive and think move move on and finish. So I'm very joy and balance when throw away all bad things or bad talks, yeah, and finish my marathon. So I'm very joy and see my friends in the finish line and remember and live the present moment. Nothing the past, nothing the future. It's like today. I like come here back and share this and be happy, enjoy this time. Yeah, I take more meditation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bryn, and I also want to share a joy. For my work, I work with young children with autism, and the last few weeks, one of my kiddos had a very difficult week, and we saw a lot of behaviors that we thought we had worked past. And they were just concerning because they were just dangerous to her and other peers potentially. However, my team, this was just like a great opportunity for us to lean on each other and also just realize we have the same goal, and that's just like the safety and happiness of our kids. And that became, it was just nice to know that we were all on the same page in that sense. And yeah, it was just a good opportunity to lean on each other and see the love that we have both for each other and for our kiddos. And instead of letting it get to us, and although it was a difficult week, it kind of inspired us for the future, because although we know it's a hard week, we know it can only get better. So I'm very grateful for that.
I want to share joy. Yesterday was my wife's birthday. So our two girls came home from college to celebrate the birthday. It was fun. And I guess the day before yesterday was Upaya's birthday. Yeah, so happy birthday. Thank you. Okay. Doesn't sound like we have anything online. We'll take a minute to feel these joys and concerns in our heart. So I have announcements here for November. We have an online meditation group that meets on Wednesdays from 6 to 6:45 on Zoom. The link is on our website. It's also on the newsletter. We have a Dharma discussion group that meets on Thursdays from 9:30 to 11 a.m. So the meditation group is at night, 6 to 6:45 at night. Dharma discussion group is on Thursdays in the morning here at the temple. And you can get more information about that online. There's an Avatamsaka Sutra study group that also meets on Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. And It's been at Temple, but I believe it's transitioning to a virtual meeting. The Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple board meeting was on Sunday, November 10th, and it's usually on the third Sunday of the month, and Sangha members are invited to observe that if you'd like. In order to be a member of the board, you have to complete the preceptor class. The Bodhi Day potluck is on Sunday, December 1st. So if you'd like to attend that potluck, if you would bring your appetite, also bring something to share. And if we usually ask people to bring the ingredients, because people have food allergies, so bring the ingredients and have that posted on your meal. The Bodhisattva Precepts program is going to be starting in January. And so that is the next step after the preceptor class. So the preceptor class goes in the fall from basically August or September till December. And then the Bodhisattva class starts in January and then doesn't end until August. So it's a very long program, but it's really a great way to deepen your practice after you've taken the precept class. That Bodhisattva groups meets on the first Saturday every month, kind of like for a mini retreat. And we have texts that we're studying together. And then at the end of that time period of training together, we'll have an ordination ceremony for the Bodhisattva students. All the Dharma teachers of here have gone through Bodhisattva training. So that's like one of the things that you do if you're interested in deepening your practice. We have Buddhist-based recovery meetings on Mondays from 6:30, meditation 7 p.m. meeting at the temple. Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. at the Alano Club. And then Fridays, 10:05 meditation, 10:30 meeting here at the temple as well. And again, all these information is on our website. And if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, I believe there's a place on the website you can sign up for that, or at the front too. Do we have a Dana announcement? Okay.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Ellen. The word Dana in our practice means generosity, and there are various ways to demonstrate that. Certainly with your time, if there's ever a time that you would like information regarding on how you can use your time here, Big Guy is the one to talk to. He'll train you to be an incense lighter, give you the ins and outs of being a greeter. I understand there's a slot open for a Dana announcer as well. If you are interested in contributing things like dry goods, paper towels, tea bags, and stuff, she's your gal. We do have a list downstairs in the dishwashing room of things that we might be needing, so keep an eye on that. Also, of course, financially, that's what keeps the lights on. No one here at the temple receives a paycheck. I mean, no one. So if you are able to, we have Dana boxes on each end of the hall. Takes a check or a cash. Also, each box has a QR code, takes you directly to PayPal. If you're watching in YouTube land today, there's a drop-down menu that also takes you to PayPal. You can set up a one-time donation or do it weekly or monthly, whatever, and certainly easy to change that up. Also, you can go to our website, zengr.org, which also has another drop-down menu, takes you directly to PayPal, and that's it, folks.
Quick announcement. I'd like to invite everybody here and online to the 25th Annual Interfaith Thanksgiving celebration at Westminster Presbyterian Church the Monday before Thanksgiving, which is not tomorrow, but the following Monday, November 25th. It's at 7 p.m. on November 25th, and it's a wonderful celebration of all different faiths, multi-faith celebration. There'll be people giving presentations, speaking, singing, music, dancing from Jewish faiths, Christian faiths, Buddhist faith, African, Native American, Baha'i, I'm forgetting Muslim, Sikh. I'm sure I'm forgetting many. Mean no disrespect. It's a wonderful, beautiful thing. Everyone is invited. I'm part of the planning crew. It's put on by the Kaufman Institute at GVSU. And so I go to planning meetings for that. And I asked the man, should I invite everybody? He said, invite everybody, and tell them to invite everybody too. We have room for 700 people in here. So it's at Westminster Presbyterian Church. It's downtown. I believe there's going to be something or is something on the newsletter. If not, you can see me. I'll probably do another announcement next weekend, but all right. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to stand up. We'll do our closing gathas together. And just a reminder, after we do the closing gathas and our closing bows, if you can remember how your pillow and cushions were when you first got here, and sort of straighten them all up and center everything so it looks nice when you leave. This is on page 6 in the chant book. For all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passions, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And I invite the right side here to face toward the center, left side face towards the center. We'll bow to each other. And we have a very short social hour. We have a preceptor meeting downstairs at 11:30. So if you want to have a longer social hour, just you can bring beverages into that front entryway there, or the front entry there, but we ask you not bring drinks into the Dharma hall. Thank you.